Amy Balzer-Tennant here, the Genealogy reporter, and it is Genealogy Thoughts Thursday. I wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why Mormons are so interested in family history? Why are they doing it all the time? Well, I'm going to give you some answers, I think, today. I wanted to talk to you about that because I think a lot of people wonder that, but they're too afraid to ask. And I get that, you never know how the other person's going to react. Now, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and have been my whole life. I've had callings within the family history realm of things, but I am in no way speaking for the church as a whole. Okay, this is just Amy saying what she has been taught and believes and thinks. So that's, I want to get that right out there. Hey, did you know too that we're not calling ourselves Mormons anymore? Yeah. FYI on that. That was a nickname we were given, not derogatory. We used it for ourselves, no problem. But we're just kind of changing that focus now. And, changing the focus to the original name of the church, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That is a big mouthful, so I'll probably refer to us as just the church or church members. I might accidentally say Mormons because, it's ingrained in me. But anyway, so why do members of the church love family history so much? Why are they doing it? Well, you kind of have to know a little bit about their doctrine. Now, this is not to try to change your mind and say you have to believe this way and this way is right. No, this is just strictly for your information, okay? So in the doctrine of the church, we believe that when a person dies, that they don't automatically go just to heaven or hell, but rather there's a temporary location. We're going to call that the spirit world. And this is another type of probationary time frame. We believe that for you to enter into the kingdom of heaven, you need to believe in Jesus Christ, accept his atonement, be baptized, all these things. Now, we recognize not everybody has even heard of Jesus, right? Okay, that'd be pretty darn sad if you were born in some country where they didn't even talk about Jesus. You lived a great life and you died, and oh, sorry, you were born in the wrong place, out of heaven, right? Okay, so we have a piece of doctrine that kind of fixes that, if you will. And so what we believe is that every single person who was ever on the earth or will be on the earth will have a chance to learn about Jesus and his atonement and accept it or not. Free agency. Now, once they've passed on and they're in the spirit world and they learn these things, obviously they are no longer with their body. And so baptism wasn't, available, right? They missed it. So we can, as members of the church, can take a name to the temple and perform a baptism by proxy. That's the term. And what that means is we stand in place of this individual and are baptized for and in behalf of them so that the ordinance of baptism is, checked off. Okay? Now, I'm using very layman's terms here, okay? I wouldn't normally share the story of salvation like this, but I'm just putting it very black and white, very easy to understand, okay? So anyway, when the church was restored, we began this idea of baptism by proxy, along with some other ordinances that we do. And we were encouraged to search out our ancestors, those who may not have heard the gospel, those who may have heard the gospel but didn't have a chance to be baptized, and so on and so forth. Now, the history of temple work within the church has changed, okay? When it first started in Nauvoo, Illinois, very early 1800s time frame, men and women were just going down to the river and any old person was dunking them in and they're calling it good. We have an order now and a standard operating procedure of how that works. Women are baptized for women, men are baptized for men. There's a certain way we do it, and it's always done in the temples. So a temple's different than our chapels. Our chapels are the ones you see, you know, every so often, where people gather on Sundays to meet. A temple is that more ornate building. They're a little more few and far between, unless of course you're in Utah and then there's like tons of them. Anyway, so there are rules for members of the church to follow about who they can and cannot take to the temple, or who they can and cannot submit to the temple to have this work done, baptisms and so forth. I'm going to read to you from the actual website, our website, to members about the rules of who you can and cannot submit, because there are people that we are not supposed to be doing, and different, criteria. Listen to this. Before you perform ordinances for a deceased person born within the last 95 years, obtain permission from the closest living relative. And yes, they double check this. You have to tell them who you checked with and how you got a hold of that person, and then they get a hold of that person and ask. That's the way it's supposed to work, and I have seen it work like that. Okay. Relatives may not want the ordinances performed, or they may want to perform the ordinance themselves. The closest living relatives are, in this order, a spouse, children, parents, then siblings. You are responsible to submit names of the following individuals for temple work. The individuals must have been deceased for at least 1 year. Immediate family members, direct line ancestors. These would be your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and their families. So those would be your blood relatives. You may also submit the names of the following individuals who have been deceased for at least 1 year. Biological, adoptive, and foster family lines connected to your family. Now, I will tell you though that we have in our family much adoption, but we also have like step parents, so they wouldn't be necessarily foster families, but we still had to get permission from the closest living relative, and then they were contacted by the church. That individual was contacted by the church and had to give permission again. Collateral family lines, uncles, aunts, cousins, and their family. Your own descendants. Possible ancestors, meaning individuals who have a probable family relationship that cannot be verified because the records are inadequate, such as those who have the same last name and resided in the same area as your known ancestors. Now, this is very important. It further says, do not submit the names of persons who are not related to you, including names of famous people or names gathered from unapproved extraction projects, such as victims of the Jewish Holocaust. All right. So, this is super important that we as members follow these guidelines. I personally am very conscientious and careful about doing ordinance work for people that, have recently died, like my aunts and uncles and so forth, because, unless I get permission from their immediate family, because that's just not appropriate. And we recognize that, or at least most of us do. So there is some rules and regulations that we have been given. I don't know exactly what further questions you might have about why we love family history within the church, but I think this pretty much sums it up. It comes down to wanting everyone to have that same opportunity that we feel is important to enter into the kingdom of heaven and be a family of God. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope that this has been helpful to you. I would greatly appreciate it if your comments were kind and questions kind as well. I don't want to start any arguments on the video channel today, but if you do have additional questions that you feel are appropriate and relatively kind, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and join us again for Genealogy Tip Tuesdays and Family Story Fridays. We look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.